All right, guys, welcome back to the ALGS channel. Hope you guys are all doing well and having a great day so far. A little bit of a different setup today. I'm currently on a mini vacation at my grandparent in-laws like lake cabin house thing. So there's a river right behind me. You guys can see beautiful scenery. Honestly, a nice little setup that we got going on here. But of course, we're still here to talk about ALGS news. As always, the house is still getting renovated. We're pretty much done though. My office is ready to be set up again. Finally, the sound foam pads and all of that stuff is ready to go. And now that my floors are in, we're all good to go as well. So while I'm over here on a short vacation, we still got videos to make. So let's go ahead and dive right into today's video as well. We're talking about ALGS news regarding the new update, Season 18. We're talking about aim assist update changes potentially coming in the future and some of the pro player takes on that as well. Also, map rotations we're looking at for this next season and how this may affect the state of the game and all other things Apex Legends esports news related. So of course, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you guys want to stay up to date all things Apex Legends esports. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right into this video. So the first thing I wanted to make mention of here, if you guys did not see this already, FaZe Nick Mercs, actually, I don't know why I said FaZe, but Nick Mercs also came out with a solo queue league that he's announcing 18 hours ago, $50,000 season kickoff on August the 7th, and it's going to feature the best Apex players in North America. Obviously, I love the idea of solo queues, and I'm actually trying to do a solo queue league myself over on my main channel stream as well, kind of working around the whole like gimmick of how we're going to get it to work and how it's going to be automated and all of this stuff as well. But I have a pretty decent format and idea that we'll be working on. So of course, if you guys want to compete in a little solo queue league as well for some fun, maybe even some prizes as well, stay tuned to that. But Nick Mercs has obviously got a bag. He can bring a lot more money into all of this. $50,000 is a lot on the line here. 3 weeks of action into a $35,000 playoffs as well. And so this is going to be a lot of fun. So we announced this 18 hours ago. Then Fallout comes out as well, saying the consistent competitive Apex content we most definitely needed leading up to champs. Let's go. This is a massive W for the competitive scene of Apex Legends, and I love that it'll likely be open to community members as well. So it says featuring the best players in North America, but I don't know if it's because these guys have been invited or if it's going to be basically like a scene of, you know, if you qualify, then you are one of the best players in North America, and then obviously you'll be there to play it. So it's going to be a nice little way to kind of get into the competitive scene. If you're like a solo, you need a new teammate. We'll look later in the video as well. A lot of rosters that are split up, disbanded, a lot of people that are looking for new teams as well. So I really like that there's a little bit more of an option. What always saddens me though is that it's really only here because of community members that decide to put into the scene. Apex isn't doing this themselves, and I still don't understand why we don't have tournaments within the game that you can play in, like Fortnite's Cash Cups, like these little tournaments that they used to run, like the FNCS or whatever they used to call it, the Fortnite Championship Series. You could literally log on in game, see a tournament that's live up there for $10,000 and just sign up and play for it. Like, you know, they got the money to do it. Why don't they do things like that? It still baffles me to this day. Now, looking into year 4 changes, of course, Tech, coming from the Meat Lovers, had some ideas that he wanted to share. And honestly, a lot of people said that these were some really good ideas coming from Tech, and that a lot of these games, a lot of these things really should be done. Unfortunately, it's kind of sad how you can come up with such good ideas and everybody in the comments are just like, you know, yes, these are great ideas, but because it's Apex, it probably will never happen. EA will probably never listen. And so Tech says ALGS year 4 out of game wish list. These are quick changes that could make, I believe, the game and evolve Apex as well in both competitiveness and structure, as well as providing more spotlight for the pro players. So one of these things is randomized drops every game. Work on with pro players to establish and identify 20 landing spots on a map where you can't get split, where you can or can't get split. So basically the idea is if 20 POIs are all equally good in loot and basically nobody has drop spots, but it just randomizes each team in that drop spot, it would basically, you know, allow people to have to be forced to adapt and learn how to basically, you know, we saw in the ALGS Split 2 playoffs that TSM really got blessed with a lot of zones on the World's Edge map where a lot of zones were pulling south, all because they land Lava Siphon. Well, why are they pulling south? Who knows? Is it really random? Can someone mess with this stuff? Obviously, I'm not saying that Apex developers are messing with the ALGS rings to favor TSM to win, but obviously some people were getting upset about it as well. It may make a little bit more sense if you just randomize their drops every single game as well, and also make sure that, you know, they don't feel screwed over at the same time, and having them receive good loot as well. Roster locks also happen at the start of a split, and only one transfer window is allotted during the middle of the split as well. The transfer window deadline should be 2 weeks before the next day match in order to give a team team member losing ample amount of time to find a replacement and all of this stuff. Also, I feel like ALGS is one of those scenes in the competitive environments of other games where, it's just kind of weird because you can't really get behind an organization other than TSM or NRG because these guys don't really change their roster every other week. The problem with a lot of these other teams is like, can you really root for this team? Because, Furia's changing roster. Well, Furia's they're a good exception. They don't really change their roster that much, but, you get what I'm trying to say. It just seems like they're always changing rosters. Teams are always changing. The rosters are never the same, so you can't even root for that organization because the same players don't stick it out anymore. Back in the day when people were first starting to compete, they were like brothers. I mean, really, they were coming together. They were really trying to work as a team and to establish an actual competitive structure and get better at the game. And now it's just like, the grass is greener all on the other side always. So you're just always leaving their buddies, always leaving their team to go find a new team. That team doesn't work, and so they leave again. Where's the consistency of just sticking it out and actually trying to grow together as a team? Now, of course, I think sometimes it's necessary. The Lanimals tried it out good enough. I think obviously they didn't have success, so they had to move on to some other things as well, and I feel like their roster changes were negated. I feel like they were good. I feel like, Abrele fits better on Furia. DNO obviously qualified for champ, so good on them as well. So obviously, I'm not saying that roster changes shouldn't be allowed, but I like that roster locks happening a little bit different. I like this idea from Tech, and I think that it should happen as well. He also said it's hard to keep up as a viewer, and it also hurts the players and the teams. This will also force teams to be a bit more serious on securing subs for the entire split in the case that a player no longer wants to play with that team, but that the player will not be allowed to immediately leave for another pro league team. I like this. I don't think it's fair how some of these guys just bounce all over the place. And, you also wonder, should they even deserve some of these spots as well? It can get a little bit of a buddy system if you're not careful with the way that it works right now. Also, I would like to see 3 splits, 3 playoff lands, and champs for a total of 4 LAN events next year. This is too much downtime, and I agree. There's way too much downtime right now in ALGS. Like, we've had 2 months off just for Split 2 playoffs. Then we do Split 2 playoffs, and we got like another 2 months off. It's just been so much downtime, and I really think that in order to keep this scene ramped up, we got to keep stuff going. And if it wasn't for Nick Merckx doing solo queue leagues, and if it wasn't for these other little tournaments that pop up because of community members, then their esports scene would be very, very, very boring, honestly. And they've got to figure out how to get this stuff more involved and a little bit more action going on as well. Also, revisit the prize pool distribution. I like this idea as well because we talked about it in the past. There's been people from other regions to go to champs last year, and I think they actually lost money. Like, they qualified for the biggest tournament of the year, probably the biggest tournament of their life. They have to fork out the money to go to this stuff. Actually, I think EA started paying for champs. It was maybe one of the Split 1 playoffs or something last year. They started to go to these tournaments. They had to pay for their way there, even though they qualified. And because they didn't do good at the tournament, they ended up losing thousands of dollars by trying to pay their plane tickets, pay their hotels and all of that stuff. And it's just like, you have to not only, like, this should be something where if you're going to have to dedicate 6-8 hours a day of practicing and getting good and being the best at this stuff, you should at least not go in the negative in your bank account, right? I mean, these guys were losing a lot of money just to be able to play, which I think is a little bit insane. So also some more things is just to kind of finish this off. Apex Esports Twitter should create more content surrounding the pro players in every region. During the ALGS season, the ALGS team should work together or should work with a new team every week to film and edit an About Us 1 to 2 minute video that can be displayed during the broadcast of every match day. This would help connect the fans to a lesser known team and help grow the brands of the players as well. I love this idea because we actually saw interviews with Kick from South America, and these guys were complaining that they don't get the same treatment that North American pros are. If Sweet Dreams is running into a hacker, he can just text hideouts really quick and hideouts will ban them. And those guys don't get any love from the devs because they're not popular. They don't really help their own brands and all of this other stuff. So there's always that conversation. And of course, I would like to see some of these changes made as well from Tech. Also want to mention roster updates. So OpTic Gaming has actually decided to sign Loopy. Now, Loopy is a guy who, what I really think is interesting here is when you look at all of these roster changes, it's really a lot of coaches being signed lately. And I think people are finally starting to realize how important it is to have a good coach. And now, of course, you've had ZZ, you've had PvP, and then we talked about Shiny in 2 videos ago. NRG has just recently signed a coach as well. So OpTic Gaming, a big powerhouse organization in the scene, finally signing a coach as well to kind of lead this team in a better direction, hopefully. And then also NRG stepping it up and getting a coach as well. We see TSM having a very predominant coach in Raven. We've got Dark Zero, who's had a predominant coach in PvP, and now they're coach as well as ZZ. So many other coaches out there. FaZe just signed a coach, or more of an analytic guy, but a lot of coaches are really being taken seriously now, and I think this is pretty good. And also, it's just interesting that 2 powerhouse organizations in the same week have decided to stop just allowing the pro players to just be pro players and also give them a little bit more structure with coaches. So Loopy on OpTic Gaming, Shiny on NRG. Big changes here for these big organizations and their coaching rosters as well. Also wanted to mention the big one. Apex Legends is very well known for their input types. We see multiple rosters play with multiple different input types. Number 1, you've got 100 Thieves, all mouse and keyboard team, not very heard of anymore. FaZe Clan, all controller squad, not very heard of either, because you do want some mechanical gods on your team as well, and it just doesn't seem like that's really the wave anymore. Well, I worry for teams like FaZe and their structure moving forward, not anytime soon, but at some point, we'll see if this roster is even around at this point, as Apex seems to be making aim assist changes, or the thoughts of. So 2 things that we have looking forward to in even upcoming in champs. SMGs are nerfed, shotguns are buffed. A lot of people are assuming that this, and you'll see even from Alberlelli here, after learning more about this patch, it's time to dust off the old arm shield. People are thinking that this is going to be a mouse and keyboard type season, and mouse and keyboard is going to be back in, the meta, if you will. And so mouse and keyboard players should get a little bit more of an advantage this season. So mouse and keyboard squads, like 100 Thieves, should theoretically get a little bit of a buff moving into champs, and we'll see if they're able to adapt to that meta, of course, as well. So someone who leaks, the analytics guy for Oxygen Esports, says aim assist changes are coming to Apex. What are your thoughts? And the quote was coming from Dexerto article, I believe. While Apex players should not expect a change in Season 18 when it launches, Respawn did confirm in a recent press conference that changes to aim assist are coming a little later down the line. And what is gonna happen to all of these controller pros? Are they gonna be hard nerfed? Is it gonna be way too hard for them? And basically, is it gonna turn back into a mouse and keyboard dominant scene like it once was? Interested to see if you guys not only agree that it should. Do you feel like this is a good move from Respawn? Do you feel like Respawn does need to nerf this aim assist? I mean, I feel like obviously it's a problem if you got many people feeling like they need to switch to controller in order to make it. I think, honestly, the meta is probably the best way to go. Instead of nerfing aim assist directly, maybe you should have a more consistent gun meta, legend meta that accommodates a little bit better of a balance. But I don't know. It's definitely a two-edged sword. Interested to see what you guys have to say as well. Sykes from XAT, of course, says aim assist does not need a nerf. Linear needs a nerf, which I don't know if he was trolling or not, because Zero Plus also made a great point that linear is just technically raw input. And if you think raw input is too strong, that means aim assist is the one too strong. After all, silence console players. So I don't know. Interested to see if you guys think that specific settings need to be banned. If, just specific like aim assist in general needs to be banned. Should it just be banned on console? Or let me know what you guys think down below. Hackus overall with the season basically says that his thoughts on the patch notes so far. He goes into some, more nitty gritty details, but he says overall I think this is a good patch and it looks like a step in the right direction for the game in general. So we'll see if that's the case. However, there is something to worry about. So number 1, it seems like that the map rotation could be pretty bad this upcoming ranked season. So not confirmed as of yet. Crowdrendo posted this earlier, and we're probably going to talk a little bit more about this over on our main channel as well. The season 18 map rotation looks to be Kings Canyon, Olympus, and Broken Moon. Literally, that would literally imply that 0 of the competitive maps, World's Edge and Stormpoint, will not be played during Season 18, which is weird because they've been hyping up these little Stormpoint changes, but we did see a lot of this data mining, this leaks, and all of these things that Stormpoint actually, while they have this weather reports happening, that it's actually not going to imply any changes to the map quite yet, not until either later in the season or next season as well. And so Crowdrendo, I think, also posted earlier in the day, why post these weather reports if you're not going to have it in the map rotation at all? If you're not even bringing these changes, then why even post these weather reports? It just doesn't really make sense. I feel like maybe they're kind of like falsifying a little bit of hope here, but interested to see what you guys have to say down in the comment section below about all of the changes and all of the updates coming in the season 18 patch, about the aim assist changes potentially taking place, about OpTic Gaming signing a brand new head coach. Do you feel like OpTic's going to finally get a little bit of a buff, maybe play a little bit better at LAN as well? I always wonder how they would have done if, Drop didn't crash in that game at Split 2 playoffs, but obviously Champs is a little bit bigger. They're going to have to step up their production team as well. We'll see how good OpTic does, and let me know what you guys think about Tech's ideas of changes to ALGS Year 4, and what changes would you make to make ALGS and esports entirely for Apex a little bit more entertaining? Let me know down in the comment section below. See you guys all in the next one. Take care of yourselves. It's Viber Die, only positivity, and until the next time, I will see you all later, Gators.